Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama review. In today's review, we are catching up with the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler in the third episode of the fourth series of Ninth Doctor Adventures, entitled Dare You, as written by Lisa McMullen. Now, initially, in the early production of this series, they were grouping the episodes by 3 and releasing them in a box set, I do believe, so this is technically the third and final instalment of what I shall refer to as the Powell Estate trilogy. And to be honest, I think that if this was released as a box set, it would have been a rather strong collection of stories overall, but perhaps a little bit too much Powell Estate, considering that some people get these box sets and binge listen to them. I think it's quite nice that we've almost been drip-fed them over the past few months, but I would be intrigued to know how listener retention has been. Have those people who've listened to the early stories continued to come back? So this release is available to purchase now on both physical CD and download, although do be warned, the actual CD is limited to 1,500 pressings, and once it is sold out, it will be sold out for good. I imagine it will go out of stock quite soon because the other episodes have also. The third episode of the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler Adventures continues its exploration of the Powell Estate after the events of Father's Day, of course, on TV. So Rose is dealing with that loss all over again, so she's decided to return home, back to her roots. And a new pawn shop has opened next to the butcher's whilst emitting this weird temporal surge. And at the same time, Jackie and a number of Powell Estate residents are reporting lapses in judgment, doolally moments as Jackie calls them, where these people are letting their inner voice do intrusive wild things like sing and scream on a public bus, say what you're really thinking to the person that you're talking to, or even starting a conga line in your classroom at school, all of which are triggered by this reoccurring ominous voice saying, "Dare you." Now, I was really excited when I heard that Lisa McMullen was penning a Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler story. Of course, in the past, she has demonstrated great understanding of people and real life with integrated sci-fi genre elements. Her previous soap drama credentials make her literally the perfect writer to basically explore the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler's relationship, as that is what Series 1 is all about, integrating sci-fi and space into the domestic everyday life. And yes, this story does have the Powell Estate at its core once again, and I do have similar compliments to that of Snare and Last Days of the Powell Estate, of course episodes 1 and 2, where hearing Eccleston and Piper simply wander around this well-known landscape that was so important to Rose's upbringing is really nice. But come the second half of this story, we do also venture into space as well, in fact the depths of space, and that balance is really striking, but I did enjoy it. I would say this one is a bit more spacey than the other stories released so far in this series. Now, when I first started listening to this story, I thought it was going to be a bit of light-hearted entertainment, this creepy goblin daring people to do things, but why? And it will be about solving that question, nothing particularly deep. But as we do get deeper into this story, Lisa evolves the Goblin and the compulsions into a much more vulnerable, thought-provoking narrative, challenging people's inner thoughts, what angers us personally, but also our weaknesses. The residents of the Powell Estate especially hear exactly what they think of one another, the assumptions that they make and the gossip which influences them, and it is quite refreshing as the story does feel quite personal, digging into dark thoughts, as well as compulsions and human complexities. It's giving the characters and their inner monologues space to breathe. And I think what this story does very well is, yes, we do have everyday people in this episode, but they are complex. They have confusing things going on in their brain. No one is a really easy book. We all have layers and differences. And the Ninth Doctor excellently introduces this concept to both the listener and the characters within this story as the call of the void, something of which that we can all relate to from time to time. And interestingly, I think that this story does gradually bring in some of the sci-fi technobabble, but when it does, I kind of respect it more, because Dare You is all about the dialogue and the interrelationships. It has that human focus, which makes the sci-fi things, the technobabble, not necessarily as important. But because emotion is at the heart of this story, that in turn makes it also more believable and relatable. Billie Piper does an excellent excellent job as younger teenage Rose. Lisa gives Billy lots of opportunity to shine within the dialogue of this story. She's young, she's learning, she has her own difficulties, especially with her relationship with Jackie, but also she's got a job to do, as we see within the arc of Series 1 on TV, and that is shaping the Ninth Doctor beyond the events of his past. And much like the previous two stories, we do get occasional references to other 2005 Doctor Who events, and even a smidge of foreshadowing in there as well, which I really, really liked. In the final act of the story, Rose is given a little bit more independence, facing off against the Goblin, the foe of the story, but also she influences the Ninth Doctor's actions as well. I think it's an important story for both of these characters. But that's the thing, it's interesting listening to these stories because Series 1 as a drama overall is so strong and comprehensive with the journey that we go on with the lead protagonists. And I think the sole job of these audio dramas is only to complement that story, really. It doesn't have a big job to do, it's just a nostalgic warm hug. That's all it has to do, complement. Meanwhile, as I go into the 13th Doctor adventures, which are somewhat running alongside this series, I instantly go in expecting more detailed plots, more complex character moments. It's as if the series is needing to prove itself and do more, because me as an audience member, I'm not entirely linked to that era of Doctor Who. I'm not completely persuaded by the characters or care for their relationships as much. But with Dare You and the Ninth Doctor adventures, that connection is already there, so perhaps I'm giving it a little bit of an easier ride. But I would also say that I'm not alone in that. I feel like a lot of people are going to the 13th Doctor adventures expecting to be impressed, expecting more, and expecting them to expand upon what we got to see on screen, and ultimately fill in some of the gaps and flaws that people have with that era. I don't think I would be wrong in saying that people aren't approaching these Ninth Doctor and Rose adventures with that same mindset. People are just looking for fun. And I think some of that is only natural. If you give me a Doctor Who story with Christopher Eccleston or Colin Baker, I'm personally going to click with it more because I get along with those Doctors more. But I think also the foundations which have been pre-built for the Ninth Doctor and Rose adventures are ultimately much stronger than the likes that we got to see with the 13th Doctor and Yaz, which instantly are making people want more. I do enjoy how the foe of this story, the Hellion, also places strain on the relationship between Rose Tyler and Jackie Tyler, bringing emotions to the forefront and the impact of current events, how the past has shaped both of them as people, how they move forward, and the way it's written is really lovely, striking a balance between the moments that we do hear as an audience, but also those moments that we don't hear. And I think that is really powerful. I've always loved Jackie Tyler as well. Camille brings passion to every single performance that she does, and it's a delight hearing more from her as a character, as she is very important. And I particularly liked in this story how we explored the impact of Rose going off into the universe she's left behind. And honestly, I'd love for this series to do a wholly Jackie-focused episode at some point. Maybe Jackie and Nine together, and Rose Tyler taking a little bit of a backseat. I think that will be really, really interesting. As for the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston has a wonderfully Shakespearean speech, which I was rather captivated by. Chris continues to really impress on audio, and you can also tell that he enjoyed acting and thinking about this story's concept, bringing his personal beliefs and experiences to his portrayal of the Ninth Doctor, which I think makes his incarnation so special. Within the interviews, Chris says something like the best Doctor Who stories have to be the ones that are deeply felt, and that is what makes this particular story so strong. Emotions being felt so deeply is at the heart of this story, and it's clear the way that Eccleston talks about recording these adventures, that most importantly he is enjoying doing it. He really respects the writers, he respects Lisa in particular, and again that enthusiasm comes across in the performance, and it is such a treat hearing him enjoy playing the Ninth Doctor. I did really enjoy getting lost in this story's idea. I feel like I got something from it, but also I think that for the first time I'm properly experiencing what those who grew up with Doctors 4 through to 7 feel when they hear they'll come back within the audio medium. Now we are very, very lucky to get these continued audio adventures with the original actors, but they will never feel exactly like what was seen on screen and how that era was done during that time period, because everything is essentially dated from the moment it's made. In previous reviews I have touched upon on a few occasions the lack of Murray Gold old music, and therefore these stories will never feel fully right in my eyes because Murray's music plays such a fundamental role within that era. But these audio dramas feel cleaner. Vocally, the protagonists' voices have naturally changed as well, which cannot be helped. And so many factors go into what became 2005 Doctor Who that you would never be able to capture that 100%. But that doesn't really take away from my complete enjoyment of these stories. I still appreciate the fact that they exist, and it is a very nostalgic, warm hug. So as an idea, I did really enjoy what this story had to offer and what Lisa has done with the script. She has taken what could have been quite a light-hearted comedic idea with a goblin and challenged all three of our reoccurring characters, Rose, the Ninth Doctor, Jackie, the relationship between Rose and Jackie being under strain, and even the Doctor falling for that temptation as that survivor of the Time War. That darkness rears its head a little bit. So all of our main characters are served really nicely, and I also like the journey that we go on with the Hellion as well, a foe with childlike tendencies, but is still ultimately dangerous. I'm really looking forward to hearing where this series goes next. Personally, I really want them to do a historical, maybe even a whole trilogy of historical stories. That would be really nice. I would love for them to evoke the atmosphere of the Unquiet Dead, because that's one of my personal favourite Ninth Doctor stories. Or, finally, do a pure historical Please Big Finish with a new Who Doctor, please. But there we go, our next Ninth Doctor adventure will be in 2026, which is just around the corner, scarily. And until then, I shall see you all next time.